Hey everybody, Brian Walker here. Time for another Quixie story time. I'm doing something a little bit different today. I have here a big stack of books that came out of my library at home, and all of these are from when I was a little boy. I'm gonna just show you these books. They're all way too long to read during the little time that we have allowed for this, but they're all unique and different and special to me. And the one I want to start with is the Star Wars Storybook, and this is crazy cool. This has all sorts of photographs in it from the original Star Wars movie, and this is back before they had the numbers in the names. And the first movie was just called Star Wars. The second movie was Empire Strikes Back. The third movie was Return of the Jedi. But this book has photographs in it that didn't actually, by the way, you can see right here, this was from my mom and dad for Christmas 1978, just kind of fun. But you can see in this book, there are photographs that are kind of rare because they never actually made it into the film. One scene in here specifically is when Luke is talking to a friend of his, and this scene is not in the movie. And so it's kind of unique that this was such an early adoption of the material that the final edit of the film hadn't been finished yet. And there's a big picture of Darth Vader on the back. I have no idea the dozens and dozens of times I read this book cover to cover as a kid. A lot of fun, and it's really kind of a rare book now. Moving on, this is something interesting. This is a micro adventure. This was number 2 in the series, and you would read the book just like any other book, but what happened is, ever so often, you came to this, and you literally would sit down at a computer, and it would teach you how to program. And this was a very, very basic program. And what it would do is it would just show you a picture. And these would be the computers that it was compatible with. We didn't own a computer at my house when I was a kid, and I didn't have access to one other than at school. And I actually did a couple of these at my high school, but I'd had this book since middle school. It was a neat read, even though I had never actually gotten to use the computer programs till later. This one is crazy. You can do the cube. Rubik's Cube is still kind of a thing, but when I was a little boy, everybody had a Rubik's Cube. Everybody wanted to do the Rubik's Cube, and I bought this book. I might have been 8 or 9 years old, and in it, it explains in full detail how to solve a Rubik's Cube from beginning to end, and supposedly, if you follow this, you can actually do a Rubik's Cube. I tried with great frustration over and over and over again, and I've still never solved a Rubik's Cube, although my son has. This is a Twist-A-Plot book, and this was in a series as well. And you literally would go along in the story, and you would learn how to go to the next part of the story. You'd read down to the end, and it would say, go to page 7. So then you would read along, and at the end, if you decide to talk, go to page 9. Or if you want to pull it down, go to page 24. So you would keep going, and then you would go to page 12, and you would skip back and forth in the book, and it had numerous endings. See, right here in the middle of the book, it's the end. And depending on the choices you made, depended on how the story ended, and you could read the book literally over and over again. If anybody has seen the show Bandersnatch on Netflix, it's kind of like that. You actually pick what happens next in the movie. A Wrinkle in Time, that's been adapted into a film a couple of different times in history. This one I got when I was a kid, and the pages are yellowed and worn. I think I've read this book 10 times. Absolutely love this book. It's really unique, it's really different, and I still don't feel as though they've made the definitive version of this into a film yet. I think someday we'll get that. Rocket Genius. This was a book I found at my grandmother's house that belonged to one of my uncles when I was a kid, and it's all about Robert Goddard, who literally was one of the fathers of the modern space program. This is what helped us get into outer space. This book cost 35 cents when it was originally released, and all the drawings in it are done in pencil style. And I always found it to be a fascinating book to read, and it's a very easy to read book too. But it goes all the way back to him being a little boy, all the way through to his amazing career. And this book, this is the one I bought when I was a senior in high school. Believe it or not, I have read this entire book several times. It's the Guinness Book of World Records. I always found it to be extremely interesting. Just flip it open a page. This is the world's biggest shoe ever made. And at that time, it weighed 158 pounds, and it took 2 full leather hides to make that shoe. So that's just some kind of fun stuff from my library. Again, they're too long to read to you right now, but I thought maybe you'd just like to see the stuff that I got into when I was a kid that kind of shaped me into becoming a reader later on. We've got other videos up where all of our friends from my radio station and our sister station are reading books to you. You can look back through our archives and check those out. And we'll post those up on the weeknights while we're in the middle of this kind of quarantine situation. Thanks for your time.